up with Nick Viall?
I don't know.
What's up with those comments?
I don't know.
That was so weird.
He and his wife were like discussing. She was saying, I just don't understand how she's managing being a mom of 3 young children and doing Dancing with the Stars and doing Chicago and reaching her dreams. And it's just kind of like,
what?
Number one, don't you,
Are you
guys
okay?
have a kid together? Like, where's your kid?
You guys have a kid. Where's your kid right now?
We've got a major update from Candace Owens after a long private meeting with Erika Kirk, and people are calling it everything from a peace talk to a truce of minds. The two finally sat down to address all the wild theories and heated conspiracies that have been stirring online, and Candace just dropped her side of the story. This meeting had fans glued to their screens, waiting to see whether the tension would finally ease or explode even more. Now, if you love a bit of celebrity drama, things are getting messy between the Bachelor and Bravo worlds. Nick Viall is catching serious backlash after Stassi Schroeder called him out, and she didn't hold back one bit. It's reality TV chaos crossing over into real life, and fans can't stop talking about it. Then there's Caroline Levit, and this one's personal. A family member who spent nearly a month detained by immigration officials is now speaking out. She believes Caroline might have played a role in what happened. The story's intense and filled with emotional twists as both sides clash over what really went down. Meanwhile, the entertainment world is still processing the heartbreaking loss of Rob Reiner. Fans everywhere are expressing deep sadness and disbelief, and the internet lit up after the president made controversial remarks about Rob's passing. Reactions have been mixed, but only one person so far has publicly defended what was said, and that's causing even more division online. And overseas, there's been a terrifying situation in Australia. The Prime Minister met with the man being hailed as a hero, someone who bravely stepped in and slowed down a violent attack that could have been far worse. The entire nation is calling him courageous for what he did. So much to unpack, and it all kicks off right now with the Candace Owens and Erika Kirk situation. As we know, Candace revealed on Sunday night that she was meeting with Erika, and in response, Erika decided to pause her live streams about the ongoing conspiracies until after that discussion. The anticipation was sky high, and now we finally know what went down. Candace Owens finally opened up about her long-awaited meeting with Erika Kirk, and wow, it lasted 4.5 hours. She described it as extremely productive, admitting it was a talk that probably should have happened a long time ago.
If it was a dude,
no
one would ever fucking ask that.
I wonder if they're kicking themselves after saying that. I hope they are.
I don't want to make it worse for them, but like, you guys, that was weird. It bothered me because like that is an insecurity of mine that I have, that like I work too much. I'm like, am I a good enough mom? And Hartford's like, why do you work so much? Because I love it. I want to take care of you. And because you said you wanted a bigger house.
Candace said they actually agreed on far more than she expected, though there were still a few points and people where they didn't quite see eye to eye. What stood out most was that both sides were able to share information, clear up a lot of confusion, and melt away some serious tension. She didn't spill every detail just yet, saying she'll give a full breakdown soon, but one thing's for sure, this meeting changed the tone between them. So what exactly does tensions were thawed mean? Fans of Candace love when things get heated. They thrive on the drama and the chase. Many of them believe she's been uncovering something major, so hearing that things have cooled off left people wondering who shared what behind closed doors. Did Erika give Candace something big? Or did Candace share proof that made Erika back down? That's what everyone's dying to know. Now, say what you will about Candace, but one thing she's mastered is transparency. As a creator, she shows her audience every step of her process, which keeps people hooked. It's the same model that's made true crime podcasts explode in popularity, letting the audience feel like they're part of uncovering the truth. Candace even compared this approach to past cases that blew up because of public engagement, and it's clear she believes her followers play a big role in keeping investigations alive. But not everyone is cheering her on. Commentators online, including pop culture analyst Colonel Kurtz, have called out what they see as a growing issue. Some claim that Candace has stirred up her fan base so much that if she backs off now, they might feel betrayed. That's a bold claim, and it's sparking intense debate. Is Candace genuinely following leads, or are her critics exaggerating? Nobody can say for sure yet, but this storyline is far from over. Candace even mentioned some shocking things, including claims that a foreign government might have put a massive bounty on her. That statement alone has people demanding more answers and receipts. Whatever comes next, it's clear that this saga between Candace Owens, Erika Kirk, and all the online chatter is only getting more complicated, and everyone's watching to see what happens next.
What are you thinking about what I'm going to say? What I'm going to say to you?
Saying.
Sparkly, charismatic, selfless, curious.
Curious.
People are buzzing after Candace Owens hinted she might be taking her findings to federal investigators, but for now, she's keeping quiet about any official involvement. What everyone really wants to know is whether she handed over anything substantial to the authorities. The mystery has only deepened since her 4-hour talk with Erika Kirk. Meanwhile, one viewer named Lauren Lee summed up what a lot of people are thinking. She questioned why this big meeting wasn't public and why Turning Point's team seemed to go live before the two even had their talk, breaking what looked like a mutual agreement to pause public commentary. Fans praised Candace for standing her ground and thanked her for continuing to fight, but it's clear there's still some confusion about who's playing fair and who's not. And really, that's the thing about online conflicts. Once they spill onto social media, the truth starts getting sliced up fast. If anyone bends the facts, contradicts themselves, or tries to twist the story, the internet will drag it out for everyone to see. There's no hiding once it's public, so until Candace shares more details, all eyes are on what she'll say next. Now, shifting gears to something a little lighter, the petty story of the day. Stassi Schroeder stirred up some drama on her podcast by calling out Nick Viall for throwing shade at Whitney Levit. Nick and his co-host questioned how Whitney could juggle being a mom while also performing on Broadway, and that didn't sit right with a lot of people. Fans from the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives crew have already had their issues with Nick since his time hosting their reunion show, saying he was too harsh on some of the women, especially Caroline Levitt. So when Stassi, who later hosted the next season's reunion, spoke up, it felt like a public clapback from someone inside the Bravo world itself. She basically pointed out that it's unfair to criticize Whitney for chasing her Broadway dream while being a mom, especially when others in their circle have championed people like Taylor Frankie Paul for demanding roles that require even more time and dedication. The irony didn't go unnoticed, and fans were quick to call it out. At the end of the day, Nick's podcast might be snarky fun to some, but others think it crosses into judgmental territory.
Pick me up. Can we play her hospital video?
Nah!
I need a pick me up is crazy. It's crazy.
That
You
really.
know, I'm feeling down in the dumps. Give me Whitney's hospital video.
Oh my God! Wait, this is.
It's just.
Stassi made it clear she's not here for double standards. And honestly, in today's world, you can't fault reality stars for trying to make money while they can. Fame doesn't last forever, and many of them are simply securing their families' futures while the spotlight's still on them. As for the drama behind the scenes, Jen from Mormon Wives even said she was relieved when Stassi took over hosting duties, hinting she felt Nick wasn't exactly neutral last time. So the tension runs deep. But if Nick really wants to call himself a bold pop culture commentator, maybe it's time for him to tackle something bigger than reality TV. Nick Viall's response to the criticism didn't exactly win people over. Instead of addressing the backlash head-on, he and his team brushed it off with jokes on their latest podcast episode. And fans were not impressed. The top comment under the clip summed it up perfectly. No accountability taken, ever. And honestly, that's the reputation Nick's been getting lately. Someone who stirs things up, then walks away without owning any of it. A resurfaced clip only added more fuel to the fire, showing Nick and his co-hosts poking fun at Caroline Levitt, who had been using TikTok as an emotional outlet while her baby was in the hospital. Around the same time, Whitney Levitt posted a heartfelt dance video that went viral, and somehow Nick found a way to mock that too. People online quickly called it insensitive, saying there's nothing funny about a mother trying to cope publicly through a hard time. Now, no one's saying Nick can't have opinions, but coming from someone who's been on reality TV himself, you'd think he'd remember how easily editing and public perception can twist a narrative. Reality shows thrive on creating heroes and villains, and Nick once played the game too. So watching him turn around and act like he's above it all has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Anyway, enough of the podcast drama. Let's shift to something that's shaken Hollywood. Fans are still heartbroken over the recent passing of Rob Reiner. Tributes have poured in from across the world, with people celebrating his long career and the unforgettable mark he left on film and television. But things took a heated turn when comments from a major political figure about Rob's legacy sparked
us, and we only have about a year. Just to be clear about this, and people, you're doing a great job, and a lot of other people are doing a good job to tell people what is actually happening in this country. But make no mistake, we have a year before this country becomes a full-on autocracy.
Outrage both in the U.S. and overseas. Even British host Piers Morgan weighed in, calling the remarks petty and tone-deaf, and social media lit up with strong reactions on both sides. As fans mourn Rob's loss, people have also started revisiting the long-standing tension that once existed between him and that same political figure. Their back-and-forth feud over the years was legendary in its own right, but right now the focus has shifted to honoring Rob's life, his work, and the kindness that so many colleagues say defined him behind the scenes. Rob Reiner's passing has left Hollywood and fans around the world absolutely heartbroken. The news was devastating. Reports revealed that he lost his life in a deeply tragic incident involving his own son, who is now facing serious charges. Authorities have shared that his son had been struggling with mental health and substance-related issues, making the situation even more painful and complex for everyone involved. Before his passing, Rob had been outspoken about his political beliefs, often sharing strong opinions about leadership and policy in the United States. Whether people agreed or not, he was never afraid to use his platform to speak his mind. His passion and candor earned him both fans and critics, but no one can deny the influence he had, both in Hollywood and in public discourse. In the wake of this tragedy, what's shocked people most isn't just the heartbreaking loss, but the reaction from some political figures online. Instead of expressing compassion for Rob's grieving family, certain comments seem to mock or dismiss the situation entirely. Many found those remarks cruel and unnecessary, especially given how fresh the loss was. Moments like this should bring empathy, not division or finger-pointing. Across the internet, lawmakers and public figures have been condemning that reaction, calling it tone-deaf and deeply disrespectful. Even people who didn't always agree with Rob politically have come forward to say that during such a tragedy, the only decent response is sympathy. After all, this was a man, a husband, and a father, someone whose loved ones are mourning an unimaginable loss. One online commentator tried to rationalize the harsh words, suggesting that Rob's outspoken nature somehow contributed to what happened.
With your detention and attempted deportation.
I didn't think so when I first got in there. I didn't think so, but the more that I look at all of the coincidence, like how they knew that I was leaving to pick up Michael from school, how they knew my address. My address is nobody knows my address. My mother hasn't been to where I live for this exact reason. I go to her house just to keep her, have her mind be at ease, pretty much. So the vehicle that I was driving was not registered under my name. That apartment lease is not under my name. So it leads me to believe, how can someone know where I am, exactly where I'm going? It just doesn't make it.
That kind of speculation has only made things worse. Fans and fellow creatives have pushed back hard, saying there's no justification for such insensitivity. In the midst of this chaos, voices like Andy Signore have called out the cruelty, saying that defending those kinds of statements is the real sign of moral confusion. At a time when people should be focusing on healing, unity, and remembering the good that Rob Reiner brought to the world, some have instead chosen to stir outrage. But the overwhelming majority of fans and peers are doing the opposite. They're celebrating his art, his boldness, and the way he always stood up for what he believed in. That's the legacy he leaves behind, one of courage, creativity, and heart. Laura's reaction to Rob Reiner's passing shocked just about everyone online. She went on a rant that many felt was completely heartless, even going as far as sharing a fake tweet she claimed came from Rob himself, which was quickly debunked by fact-checkers. The backlash was immediate. People couldn't believe someone so closely connected to political circles would spread misinformation about such a painful tragedy. While Rob's family is still grieving, commentators across the media world have been speaking out against that kind of cruel rhetoric. Even The View hosts weighed in, calling the situation disgusting and calling for more respect when discussing someone who just lost their life. It's not about politics anymore, it's about humanity, and that's something everyone can agree on. Meanwhile, online discussions have shifted toward bigger issues in Washington, with lawmakers pushing for more transparency around long-suppressed documents tied to government investigations. Many citizens are demanding honesty and openness from officials, especially when it comes to long-standing cases that remain sealed. Whether that release happens as promised or not, people are hoping it could bring long overdue clarity to one of the country's most controversial chapters. The conversation then pivoted to another major national concern: the skyrocketing cost of healthcare in America.
But here's a brief clip.
Very strong. Thank you very much. Your heart is strong. Thank you. Your courage is inspiring. Thank you very much.
He says your courage
One host shared a personal story about how their family's monthly insurance premium jumped from around $1,100 to over $2,000 in a single year without any major changes to coverage. That's a massive leap, nearly $12,000 more per year just to stay insured. This has reignited the debate around healthcare reform with renewed calls for a fairer, more affordable system. Lawmakers like Bernie Sanders have continued pushing for Medicare for all, saying the current setup leaves too many families struggling to cover even basic medical needs. The frustration is real. People are tired of watching their premiums rise while their benefits stay the same. What's clear is that Americans across the political spectrum are starting to unite around a common concern: the cost of living and the feeling that the system doesn't work for ordinary families anymore. Whether it's the call for transparency in government or fairer healthcare prices, there's growing momentum behind the idea that real change can happen when enough people speak up together. Back in 2019, surveys showed that only about a quarter of American adults supported Medicare for all. But fast forward a few years, especially after the pandemic, and that number has skyrocketed to around 60%. Most Americans now say they want a universal healthcare system, yet it still hasn't happened. The plan itself isn't new. It's been sitting there, ready to go and easy to understand. Bernie Sanders' proposal breaks it down simply. It would phase in coverage gradually over 4 years, lowering the Medicare eligibility age step by step. First to 55, then 45, then 35, until everyone is covered. Private insurance for core medical services would be replaced by one national plan that covers everything necessary, with no surprise premiums, no deductibles, and no endless copays. Imagine that. Actual care without all the financial chaos. Now, people often argue that a government-run system would be inefficient, but take a look around. The current setup is already a mess. Families are paying tens of thousands of dollars a year just to stay insured, and even then, they still get hit with massive bills for the smallest medical needs. It's no wonder so many hardworking people are skipping checkups or delaying treatment. The cost has become unbearable. Right now, it feels like the system is broken beyond repair, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Other developed countries have figured this out, providing care without pushing families into debt. The US has the power and resources to do the same. It's just a matter of political will and public pressure. So maybe this holiday season, when families gather around the table and talk about how expensive life's gotten, it's worth bringing this up. Conversations can lead to change, and collective voices can make the difference. America deserves a system that cares for its people, one that's fair, functional, and affordable for everyone. The case of Bruna Ferreira has exploded across social media, and it's not hard to see why. Her story is full of twists, heartbreak, and serious accusations that have left people divided and outraged. According to Bruna, she spent a shocking 26 days detained by immigration officials despite having no criminal record at all. She insists she's lived in the US since she was a little girl and built a quiet, hardworking life here. But what really sent the internet into a frenzy was her claim that someone in her extended family, none other than Caroline Levit, might have had something to do with tipping off authorities about her location. That accusation lit up every gossip page, political forum, and talk show. If true, it would mean a relative helped cause her detention. And for what? Jealousy? Revenge? A power move? Nobody knows for sure, but Bruna is standing firm in her story. She says, "Only Caroline could have known where I was." And that statement alone has everyone talking. Even more heartbreaking, since being released, Bruna claims she hasn't been able to see her young son. She's too scared to travel across state lines, fearing she'll be detained again. Imagine living in that kind of fear after doing nothing wrong. She described calling her son's father only to be ignored or told they were too busy, which made an already emotional situation even harder to bear. She's lost time with her child, her freedom, and her peace of mind, and now she's caught in the middle of a family feud that's gone completely public. The Levit family drama just keeps growing. Fans and followers who once saw Caroline as a rising political star are now questioning her judgment and humanity. Some insiders have claimed the family has been cutthroat for years, competitive, ambitious, and not afraid to step on toes to protect their image. Others say it's all being blown out of proportion and that Bruna's claims are just emotional reactions after a traumatic experience. Either way, the tension is undeniable. Now let's be real. Online chatter has added its usual mix of spice and chaos. Some people are focusing less on the serious part of Bruna's story and more on her looks, saying she's outshining Caroline in every way. Others believe jealousy might have played a role in how things unfolded, but that kind of talk misses the point entirely. This isn't about who's more attractive. It's about a woman who says she was wrongfully detained and separated from her child. That's the real issue here, and it's one that highlights how broken parts of the system still are Bruna says she's done everything right. She works, she pays taxes, and she stayed out of trouble. But because she was brought to the US as a child, her legal status has always been complicated. She's one of millions of people who live in this country, contribute to it, and still feel like their lives could collapse overnight due to paperwork or politics. For her, those fears became reality, and it's left many people asking, how is this still happening in 2025? And this story has reignited conversations about immigration reform, and not just on political shows, but among regular families. People are realizing that cases like Bruna's are more common than they think. There are thousands of longtime residents who've built families, paid taxes, and lived peacefully for decades, but still don't have a clear pathway to citizenship. And when something like this happens, when someone gets detained for weeks despite a clean record, it shows just how desperate that change really is. Even legal experts have started weighing in. Some say that if Bruna's claims about how she was found and detained are true, there could be a breach of privacy or even abuse of authority. Others are calling it a wake-up call for lawmakers to fix the holes in the system that allow non-violent, law-abiding residents to fall through the cracks. And while the online debate rages on, Bruna's life has been turned upside down. She's trying to rebuild, reconnect with her son, and stay strong amid all the noise. Supporters have started sharing her story widely, hoping to draw attention to what they see as a massive injustice. A few advocacy groups have even offered to help her find legal support and counseling, something she desperately needs after such a traumatic experience. As all this unfolds, another story has been giving people a little hope, something truly inspiring out of Australia. You've probably heard about the Bondi hero, the man who risked his life during a horrifying attack that shook the country. He jumped in with no weapon, no armor, nothing but courage, and tackled the attacker to the ground before more lives could be lost. He was seriously injured but is now awake, recovering, and even met with Australia's Prime Minister. The PM told him, "Your courage is inspiring," and you can see in every photo that this man embodies real bravery. The nation has rallied behind him. A fundraiser for his recovery and his small company has already collected hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations. People around the world are sending messages of gratitude, calling him a reminder that real heroes still exist. Everyday people who run toward danger when others run away. And that's what makes stories like his so powerful. In a week full of chaos, accusations, and heartbreak, from Bruna's devastating experience in the US to the tragedy that rocked Australia, this hero's bravery has reminded everyone that humanity still shines brightest in the darkest moments. His selflessness has brought people together, something the world desperately needs right now. So as we wrap up this emotional roller coaster of a story, from political tension to family heartbreak to real-world heroism, one thing stands out. We're living in a time where truth, courage, and compassion matter more than ever. Whether it's Bruna standing up for herself, families demanding justice, or a hero saving lives on the other side of the planet, every act of bravery counts. Let's keep paying attention, keep asking questions, and keep showing empathy, because that's how real change happens. And if you've got thoughts on any of these stories, the Bruna Ferreira case, the Bondi hero, or the ongoing debates around immigration and justice, I want to hear what you think. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below to keep the conversation going. Your voice matters, your opinion counts, and your engagement helps keep these stories alive. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.